3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another very exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. I know we've got some familiar faces in the crowd. We've got some newbies, too. So if you are new to us, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And as you may know, we are smack dab in the middle of our biggest week of the entire school year. It is Ocean Week, both in Canada and around the world. Really, really exciting to have 20 plus broadcasts featuring some of the coolest scientists and explorers on planet Earth. And everything we do goes to our YouTube channel, so you can watch this one, 4,000 other broadcasts in like 3 weeks, 3 years, anytime you're keen. Lots to explore and discover right there. Now, I'm particularly excited you're joining us today because we are back on another epic series with our friends at Digital Moment. Digital Moment is one of the coolest organizations for AI literacy, computer literacy, all sorts of cool stuff, coding work in Canada and around the world. So I really encourage you, check out their website. There's lots to learn there. And we've done 2 amazing broadcasts with them in the last 2 months that, again, you can check out on our YouTube channel. Today, too, if anyone's ever joined us for Digital Moment before, you'll know this, is very participatory. So if you're on StreamYard or on YouTube and you've got your fingers at the ready at the keyboard to answer all sorts of questions in the middle of the broadcast, that'll make it a lot more interactive and fun too. But without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to Herman. He's going to blow your minds and take us away on a little bit of a journey with building a sustainable future. So, Herman, thank you so much for joining us, man, and take us away.
My pleasure. So happy to be here. Always a pleasure to work with Exploring the Seat of Your Pants and the amazing audience that we have in all these sessions. As Jesse said, I'm going to be asking questions. We're going to be sharing ideas. We're going to try to figure out things together. And the first thing is that, as Jesse said, we're Digital Moment and we have something called the Digital 2030. And what this is a challenge. We're challenged everybody to think about a better future that we can help realize through the Sustainable Development Goals. Maybe you've heard of the Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. Maybe you've heard and seen about this logo and what it represents and the effort that the whole world is trying to make in order to provide a better future for generations to come. That's what we want to do. We want to challenge each one of you to learn a little bit more, to be better informed about things that can help improve your life and the life of future generations for the planet. And we're going to explore that today through the concept of sustainable consumption and production. These are big words that they don't seem very interesting or exciting. So we're going to go over each one of them to try to understand what they are, to explore the way that we've been doing things for many, many years, and what is the answer that all of us, all of you, can start implementing in order to make sure that we can have a better life for humanity in the future. The first word here is sustainable, and this one is the key part that unlocks everything. Sustainable means something that we can keep doing for a long time. I like to think about sustainability or sustainable in terms of going for a run. If I'm running 100 meters, then I try to go as fast as I can. It's not going to be very fast for me. It might be really fast for you, but then you use up all your energy really fast. But when we're thinking that we want to be sustainable, it means we want to keep running. We want to keep doing these things for a long time. So I like to think in terms of a marathon or an ultra marathon. In that case, we don't go that fast. We plan and we pace ourselves so we can keep running or doing the jogging or completing the event over a long period of time. The same thing applies for our planet. We want us, our kids, and our kids' kids to keep enjoying the world and the resources and the shelter that it provides for us. So that's what we're thinking about sustainable. We want to think together, how can we persist doing what we're doing? How can we keep enjoying the things that we're enjoying in a way that we don't harm the environment we live in? So that's the sustainable part. The second word is consumption. And this is directly affecting each one of us because we consume things every day. Right now, I'm drinking water. So I'm consuming water. Once I consume this water, what happens with it? Where does it come from? How do we extract it? How many things do we consume? I have a device, a little electronic here. Do I need this device? Is this important? When I use it, what happens with it? How did it get to me? So we're putting these things together. We want to be sustainable, so we want to keep on consuming. I still want to have water. I still want to have food. I still want to have clothing. I still want to have these things coming up and showing up for us. The third one is that we cannot consume something it has if it has not been produced or harvested or gathered in any way from the environment. So if we want it to be sustainable, we think about the way we consume things, but we start thinking about this even before we consume them. How do we produce things? And that's the part that I want to start showing how we've been doing this in the past, because production is what starts the story of something we're going to call the linear economy. And this has happened for many, many years now, and it has made the world better for millions of people. Millions of people have access to more products, to more goods, to water, to electricity, to roads, to clothing, to books, to computers. So things have gotten better and things are getting better, but we need to be mindful of the future. Let's explore what this linear economy is. These are the SDGs we're touching on, but let's take a look at the linear economy. The linear economy has three steps. The first one is the extraction. For us to have this glass that I have here, we need someone to extract the elements that help create this glass. So we need not only the elements that help create the glass, we need roads and infrastructure to take things from one place to the other, roads and infrastructure and production facilities to create the machines that extract the elements from nature. So we start with extraction. And we've been doing this for many years through minery, logging, and many other activities. The second part is that everything that we use is not only extracted, it needs to be distributed or transformed. And for that, we go into production. That's where we have our factories and our big centers that gather materials from different places and transform them in something we can use, like a pen, like a lamp, like a computer, like a desk. And the things, the places where you are, if you start looking all around you, you're going to see different materials that started with extraction from nature and then transform into the things that you have. The last step is when we come in. I want this glass, I want this book, I want this lamp. So we go and source it, we buy it, and then we consume it. Let's say this tiny gentleman is me, and then I'm sitting there with my phone, one of the things that requires a lot of extraction and production. But then what happens? This gentleman, me, is sitting among garbage. Am I sitting among garbage? Not really, but in a figurative way, we are, because we have this non sustainable way of consuming. So we use things and we throw them because we want something new. So this is the linear economy, and it has helped a lot, but it causes a lot of waste. Not only a lot of waste, but you saw that I also cut on the top what we were seeing as the mountains and the valley, meaning that we're taking things from nature that are non-renewable, and we're just creating waste in many cases. So this is not what we want to do. Now we know better. Now you know better. Now your parents, your family, society knows better. So we need to start thinking, how do we change then from this linear economy? What's next? How can we solve this problem? How do you want to live your lives in a better way and leave the world in a better way to next generations? There's an answer for that. There's something that many people, organizations, and companies are working towards, and that is called the circular economy. In the circular economy, then we have these four different quadrants or aspects that depict a new way to work, to capture, to consume, and to produce in a more sustainable way. We're going to explore these four different aspects, but before that, in order to get here, we need to consider seven keywords that I'm sure you've heard at least three of them, and you're going to help me try to figure them out, because these words are key part to implementing a circular economy. Let's start and let's take a look at the words. So these are the seven words that start with the letter R that are going to help us reshape, renew, reinvent, reimagine the way that we produce, consume in a more sustainable and renewable way. I need your help. Now, the interactive part, I have the first R and is showing this image here. So I want you to tell me, which one does this represent? Is it reduce, rinse, read, remove?
Hmm.
Let's
I
see.
don't know. I think it's reduced. We've got a little bit of a lower guy. And again, YouTube, StreamYard, anyone you want to put in the chat, please do. We'd love to hear from you as we go along. Summer school, middle of school, wherever you're at in the thing. So we've got some reduce coming in. We've got some remove. Maybe don't put it in to begin with. Rinse and rid aren't getting any love, Herman.
Okay, nobody wants to rinse and read, and that might be for a good reason. We could find ways to make rinse and read work, but yes, the thing is that we're going to do this a few times. So I challenge all of you to see who's the first one that can put things in the chat, either on the live stream or on StreamYard. And as Jesse said, and some of you pointed out, reduce is the one that is going to work. And this is a key one. And reduce, you know what? I'm going to admit something that is a little bit shameful. I used to think that reduce, it means let me just compact my garbage as much as I can so it doesn't take that much space. It happens. We live, we learn. But when we're thinking about reduce, is how do we reduce the amount of garbage we throw? How can we do that? How can we bring life to objects that we're throwing away? So that'll be the reduce. I'm sure you are already thinking about the second one and the third one. Let's see. Chat, you need to help me this time.
I think
It is
so.
going to be
I'd like,
ruffle.
I'd like to ruffle something. That's kind of a fun thing.
I know. Are we going to rebrand, remember, or reuse? Oh, we have
Reuse.
Farmington Summer School reuse already, and you guys answered this so fast. Thank you so much. So, yes, in this case, it's going to be reuse. So, you're already thinking about the third one because we have reduce, reuse. I'm not going to say the third one yet, but we have reuse is one key element that we've seen many times. Is about the garbage, about the bags that we collect at supermarkets. If we take our own bags and we use them multiple times, then we're making this much better. You know what? I'm going to take a gamble. I'm not even going to show the third one yet. So we did reduce, reuse. Can anybody type the third one? I'm going to count to 10 and then I'm going to reveal it, but let's see.
I don't even
9.
think we need 10. 2, 3, 4. These were the three when I was a boy. There's even
There
more
we
now.
go. Farmington Summer School goes at it again. We've heard this so many times, and as Jesse said, we've heard this many, many times. That's why I said the options are recycle, 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 or recycle. It's just something that we've heard many times, and recycle is key. Recycle has challenges, and there are many challenges that have been brought forward for us to challenge the way that we're recycling. But the key part, the underlying message, the fact behind it is that recycle is still key. We just need to make it better as consumers, as producers, and the people that manage and subsidize different aspects of our production. So, recycle key. We have four more. These ones are newer, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a hand. I'm going to help you with some of them, but the other one involves this brain. Reason, remember, rethink, racing. What was I thinking? Racing doesn't make sense, but maybe reason, remember, or rethink. This
Mm,
is a key part. Farmington, you guys are great.
they're killing it.
Fantastic. Rethink. And rethink is a key part because then we don't wait to see what are we going to do with things that we have that we need to dispose. Is before we create them, we think about the future of the things that we use and consume. If I'm making a container to drink water, I start thinking, what is the best way that I can make this container that is in a sustainable way, but also what is going to happen with this container when the end of life arrives? Can it be just broken down and be created with the same materials again, like glass? Or is it going to involve going into a landfill? How can we make things better? We're going to rethink. This is my favorite one. Yeah, Farmington School, you sure know your stuff. And now you're saying refuse. And refuse is key. And it's my favorite because it's the one that we have the most control. But it's also one of the hardest one because it involves us considering things in a different way. I have Farmington is saying like refuse the plastic straw at the restaurant. Correct. And even more is, you know what? This phone that I have still working pretty well. Maybe it can last 1 or 2 more years. Then we're refusing buying something new, and then we're prolonging the life of the things that we have, so we minimize extraction. Very good. This is great. Thank you, Farmington Summer Schools. You guys are doing great. I thank you so much for your collaboration. So, refuse, key aspect, something that we can do in a big or a small scale. The next one, regrow, repurpose, rotate, and rest. I would like to rest and rotate from time to
Yep.
time, but I think it's a different one. What do you think, Jesse?
I think this might be a repurposed one. We got our bottle there as a planter. This is something that I've actually seen a lot of in Toronto, where I used to grow up. They did a lot of things exactly like this, where they reuse old spaces. We're actually talking about this in my town right now. We've taken out all the parking meters, and we're thinking of putting soil in them to make little planters throughout the entire town, which is kind of fun. There you go.
That is great. And then you're doing amazing things. You're recovering the space and you're repurposing that space to bring life and to make the life of people better because then you have more green and nicer spaces around. Repurposing, really important. For example, this I didn't know this class was going to be so helpful. This class is a masonry jar. So when you have things like what was here, maybe pasta or pasta sauce, not pasta, but pasta sauce. But then we didn't throw it after we use it. We kept it, and now I have water on it, and I'm really happy repurposing these ideas. It's giving a new life to an object that it was not intended. As we see, this graph is really nice and it fits with the idea that Jesse was saying of creating green spaces from public areas. And the last one is rot, rest, rotate. I have rotate too many times. On rats. Rats. Farmington. There we go. Rotate. No, rot. Very good. So, rot is really important and it's a big part to consider. Maybe you've heard sometimes that instead of having our devices packed with maybe styrofoam or plastic to protect them from moving in boxes, we can use something made of cardboard or made of mushrooms or fungi that can create these protective structures. And the beauty is that those things decompose, they're going to die, they're going to turn into basic elements fast in the environment, then they just go into the cycle of life. They just don't stay in a landfill. So these are the 7 R's. These are very important. So we have the 7 R's as we saw before, but remember, the idea of these 7 R's is that they help us ideate, conceive, and interpret and work on the circular economy. Let's put them to action. Let's take the 7 R's and let's see how can we use them in each one of those quadrants. We're going to see which one of those quadrants do and then how can they be supported by one or multiple R's. The first one, design and production. So design and production, we talk about this when we were taking a look at the 7 R's, is when somebody is thinking about making something, making this laptop, these headphones, this shirt, not only how are they going to get it to the customer, but what is the end of life? What is going to happen at the end of life of that product? How can we assure that the end of life is not a landfill? So that is the design and production. Now, challenge again for all of you. Of this group of icons, which one do you think is most representative of design and production? Let's see.
Ooh. I even have to think about that one. I mean, we've got the brain by itself, so I think we're going to have a pair of things. So I'm going to eliminate that one just on printable, as cool an image as it is. Recycle's not design and production. We've got reuse, we've got refuse, and repurpose. Maybe repurpose is interesting. Maybe that top one, because we can take things from things that have been used in the past and reuse them in a new way, or use them in a new way.
What I like the most is that the reasoning that you're doing, Jesse, regardless if you're right or wrong, is it's very important because it's the process of thinking how do we fit things in this new economy. I'm trying to see Farmington Summer Schools is writing something. I have a feeling. I hear the clicking
I
from
can hear
far
the
away.
clicking too, almost. YouTubers, if you want to chime in as well, we'd love to hear from you. We've got refuse and what do we think? I don't know. Maybe you've thrown us off.
I think so. Then I knew this was going to be challenging. And you know what? It's good that it's challenging because the process that Jesse was doing, thinking over all the options, maybe eliminating some and making some a little bit more important, in a way, all of these things are combined, but some of them have a bigger weight. In this case, if we're thinking about the way that we design things and how we produce them, the key word is the way that we're thinking. So sorry, Jesse, it was the first one, the brain. And look, Farmington. And the one you shoo away first, but that's fine. And then we have an answer also in the chat that says we're working on how to change from the linear economy to something different. Very good. And this is when we rethink, we consider how these products are going to live after they die, after they're no longer part of our usual daily lives. Very important. Then, if this is design and production, what is this one that we have here? This is distribution and consumption. This is how we get things. We order them online, we go to the store. How do they get to the store? But most importantly, once I have my phone, how do I consume the phone and how do I think about it? Because the last one was so challenging, I'm gonna give you this for free. This is just one for free. I'm gonna ask for the next one. Oh, you wanna venture an answer, Jesse?
Ooh, I'm just harping on the thought of you consuming your phone literally rather than using it, and I don't do that at home, kids. Geez. We did not. You can tell I didn't. It's not like I know these answers ahead of time. I'm just in terms of distributing something, I mean, obviously not refuse, he says so confidently after getting it wrong the first time. Obviously not, for sure.
Let me help you with something. I'm gonna click. Like,
No!
this is fantastic. This is great. It shows that we were not aligned. We're just don't giving the answers to Jesse. And the key is that refuse seems like no, that's not that important. But look at the two things that we're doing. First, with refusing, meaning that we're only keeping the things and acquiring the things that are important to us and that we should be acquiring. Refuse and reuse, Farmington School says we actually like repair as an answer. That's really good. And you know what? When we're talking about reuse and we're talking about repurpose, those two work as a repair because not only are we extending the life of things, but we're thinking of new alternatives. That is great. I'm going to give you the next one for free. I don't want to just make Jesse have nightmares tonight with the next
Too
one.
late.
That's not nice. The next one, Farmington, repair and reuse. So in this case, is this one. We're just reducing, finding ways not to throw things that much. How can we repair them? How can we make them different? How can we make them stay longer within the circle? How can we extend the life of our objects and the things that are in our lives? The last step, of course, is recycle. We also use the word return. That's not me. That's Farmington Summit School telling us that wise idea that the last one, I have recycling and recovery, but I like the word that you have as return. It's very interesting. And Farmington says, as in turn back in the milk bottles for cash for new bottles. That is great. That is an important part because we're not saying that there is no extraction, and we're not saying that everything just magically turns into something new. Some of the things are going to go to a landfill, but the goal is to minimize them, to hopefully achieve the minimum possible so we don't need to extract that much and we maximize the use. The example of the milk bottles is fantastic. Sadly, here in Toronto, where Jesse grew up, we don't have milk bottles. We have bags and we have cartons. I grew up with milk bottles. They were fun. Great. So we have these ideas. We talk about the concept of the circular economy. We learn about the 7 Rs. We see how we jump, how we migrate from the linear economy to a circular economy. How can we participate in this conversation? So, is this the challenge? Yes, this is the challenge, but I'm going to leave you with the following is that I want to take you here. I'm just going to show it and put the URL in the chat. I know Jesse's going to help me with this and make it much better, but I'm going to put it in both places. So you have it is that now is your turn when the summer school, when you have some time to explore the challenge. You're going to see the information that I share with you today is explained in a different way with more images, with more concepts for you to understand and to think and to learn about the linear economy and to go a little bit deeper in the aspects of the circular economy and the concepts that we explored of the 7 Rs. So you have all these ideas, and one thing that you can do later on is that there's one game that we didn't do. I saved it for you, is how to put the 7 Rs in practice. And so this is something that I want to leave you with. And now I want to jump in with Jesse and to see if we have any questions.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Ramon. And again, we will make sure all our classes have that. You have it in the chat right now. I've shared it with our YouTube friends as well. So lots of opportunity to learn, play along, do some cool stuff. I really do encourage you, check out our other programs on our YouTube channel. We've done some really stellar stuff the last couple of months, and we are excited to do some more in a little bit as well. You made it that whole time without coughing, Herman. Herman has a whole bunch of cough paraphernalia around him, and he's made this whole broadcast. So well done for talking for half an hour with impunity. Farmington, you guys are all lined up at the camera. I'm going to come to you straight now, and you can lead us in with questions. YouTubers, please do share as well, but let's do this thing. Hey, guys. Hey.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
So how long until the Earth gets to its limits?
And we can't fix it. And we can fix it.
That is
Ooh.
such a good question. It's such a sad question. It's hard that we need to ask these questions. And the answer is it depends. And it depends on the actions that we're taking now. It's how we're embracing these new concepts, ideas, how my generation and how your generation approaches these challenges. The best answer that I have for all of us is that there's no that time coming. Why? Because I believe in your generation and I believe that we as a species can do much better. And if we're thinking about these concepts, and today you're here with us in a summer school learning about sustainability, consumption, and production, that means we're on the right track. So we can make it never be a reality.
Yep. And I want to say too, like, I mean, it's such a broad, big question. I want to say on the waste side, because we cover this a lot in the programs that we do. We do things where it's like ghost fishing nets. They're out in the water catching fish that just die out there in the water. And it sounds very, very bleak, right? Like there are a lot of big challenges that the world's facing right now. But I really want to stress this. And I think your website does a little bit of this as well. But like there's so many solutions happening right now. Like it's a golden era for challenges, but also for people that are really doing innovative things. So like, when I was a boy, if we thought of a landfill, that was like a place that big trucks went and put garbage into a random pit. And like, it's still like that, but it's radically more technologically evolved since then, where now most places, certainly in Canada and the US where we are really well innovatively thought out places that are producing energy from that waste, that are condensing that waste, that are making it as unimpactful as it can possibly be. So it doesn't let us off the hook. It doesn't mean that we can't not think about those big things that we can do in our own lives, but it does mean that on a broad stroke systems level, from the government level down, we are working on these solutions as well. Even on your site, I noticed you had Patagonia as a company. That's an example of a group that, like, you know, I think we all sort of think of companies as being always the bad guys, and quite often they can be the good guys, and they can be leaders that lead to other companies and governments doing good things on behalf of the planet as well. So we all have a role to play. And I think the nice thing at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants is we get to work with a lot of people like Herman who are working on innovative solutions where I see nothing but hope. So I hope that you take that a little bit away from it as well. Play the game, get involved, learn even more, but leave this broadcast with a lot of good feeling, I hope, is our goal. Farmington, you're back up at the camera, so come on back up. And again, YouTubers, please do feel free to chime in the chat as well, but you're good to go. Hey, guys.
So, how does plastic like specifically affect the ocean?
Ooh.
Very good question. And it's something that we covered in the previous stream. And I know Jesse has covered in many different ways. And plastic affects the ocean in many different ways. The main way that we can consider, or the key aspect, is that plastic does not disappear in the ocean. Plastic does not decompose in the ocean. Plastic just gets smaller and smaller in the ocean. So the way that it affects the ocean is that it gets so small that it gets into the food chain, and then if it gets into the food chain, it affects the whole global food chain, not only within the ocean, but also for all of us that consume animals and plants that come from the ocean. So it's creating a big effect because of the fact that it does not decompose, that it does not disappear, that it just lingers there and affects life in many different ways. When it's in a big form, as Jesse was saying, with fishing nets and different things that we throw and debris and how it affects marine life, but also when we stop seeing it and it just becomes microscopic, it's even worse because it looks like if it's not there, but it's affecting each one of us.
Yeah. And it's worth noting from the sort of broader research perspective too, like we're still learning how plastic is impacting things. This is an area of research that I would honestly say is like 10 years old. Like we've just started going, oh man, we've been doing this for ages and decades, putting plastic in the oceans. What's going on with it? And we've had people come on, do live seabird dissections. The bird isn't alive. They're live on camera doing a seabird dissection. And every single time they do that, they find plastic in the bird. And that's wild, right? Like that is a crazy fact. We get fish from lakes, rivers, oceans every time we find plastic in them. That's uncanny. We've got people that are working to prevent plastic from ever getting into the oceans in the first place through like huge river nets. So 2 things I'd recommend to learn even more, but this is a huge topic of great interest to the world. Our last program with her mom was on trash trackers and tracking plastic in the oceans. That's on our YouTube channel, so you can look up Digital Moment or Trash Trackers and find that. And I just shared a huge National Geographic series of resources. So they've spent a lot of time over the last half decade doing major things on plastic pollution. I'd say they're the gold standard for really great stuff on that. So do check them out as well, because we literally have done like hundreds and hundreds of broadcasts on this from every possible angle. It's a evergreen thing to learn. So great question, guys. You guys are a great audience. There's so many of you too. So we're going to come back to our Farmington crew. Come on in and take us away with another. Hey.
Okay, so how do you reuse your plastic that you get from like the store and from restaurants?
Sweet.
That's such a hard question. It's a challenging question, and I'm going to invite you first to embrace the reuse. Start by saying, oh, that's okay. I don't need that bag. I have my bag. Or, you know what? Can you pack this in a recyclable container? Do you have recyclable containers? That can invite the change. It can start the change of ideas, is what we request of consumers. Now, we have that plastic at home. What are we going to do? There are so many bags that we can use, correct? The correct answer for us at this point is to recycle it properly. So what recycling properly means many different things in many different places, depending on the recycling policies that you have in your local region and the way that recycling is being affected, but usually means properly recycling things in the right bin or the right place and eliminating contamination. That way, that recycling, that plastic doesn't need to be extra processed in order to be recycled or thrown because it's contaminated with other items.
Yeah, these are great answers. And I on the reuse, really directly reuse front, because it's interesting. It's not something that we do in Canada and the US very much, but I've had the privilege to go to some really poorer countries, frankly. And when you go there, they reuse everything. Everything that they've ever come across ever is reused. You can go into a home in Madagascar in the middle of the bush, and they've got the Coke bottle plastic wrapper on the inside wall to help prevent moisture from getting in. And so everything's reused in most of the world. We're actually in a pretty lucky scenario here where we don't have to do that because we have the resources and money to afford to do things that aren't reusing stuff that we find necessarily in the trash or take from something like a restaurant. But most of the world does reuse those things in really innovative ways. And so I encourage you to think about that as well, that we're in this position where we have endless access to unlimited plastic and unlimited resources, and most of us have the luxury of being able to do that. And in most places, that isn't true. And how that plays out in various countries is fascinating. From not too long ago, look up Chile, the country Chile, and how fabrics and clothes from all over the world end up literally being dumped into the desert there, and how people in Chile reuse that. It's one of the most interesting stories I've run across in years. It's a whole economy in Chile is reusing and reselling clothing that they literally dump out of trucks into the middle of the Atacama Desert there. So we're checking out some really neat stuff, and I love that question, guys. Thank you so much. Time flies when you're having fun. So we are going to do one more together before we wrap up. But guys, you're one of our most involved audiences ever. So Farmington, if you have extra questions, email them to me. I'll pass them along to her mom. We'll get you those answers. I really encourage you, check out digitalmoment.org. You can check out the challenge here, play that game, learn even more. There's lots to explore. But we'll wrap up with one question before we say farewell. Come on in, guys. Hey.
Oh, yeah. So in Missouri, we have lots of lead. What's it for? Why do we destroy our land to mine it?
Did you say lead?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Jeez. Tough question, Herman.
That is very tough because I don't know the answer. I know that we've been trying to take lead out of the environment for many years. It was part of gasoline for many years, and it was part of some other materials that were being produced. And I know it's very harmful for humans. So we've been trying to take it out of the environment. But if I tell you that I know more than that, I'll be lying, and I don't want to lie to you today.
You stumped the expert. I love when this happens. This is my very favorite things in all broadcasts. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of homework. In addition to the amazing challenge, my favorite science story of all time is a guy named Claire Patterson. I encourage you to look up Claire Patterson. There's an amazing little feature of him in something called Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's like the most interesting scientist that no one's ever heard of. he found out the age of the Earth. So the first person to ever know how old the Earth was Claire Patterson. And in doing that, the research for that, he was the first person to ever develop a clean room. So when we do really intense science, when we do intense engineering, lots of stuff, we have to be in a very controlled environment because the outside air, the outside world around us is contaminated with things that people have put there. And so Claire was the first person to design a room where you could do really complex science and not be contaminated from outside things, because he found in the 50s that lead was everywhere. As you said, Herman, we used to put lead in gasoline, and it was literally negatively affecting people all over the world. It was killing people. And Claire found that out and then was the single biggest campaigner in the world to get lead out of gasoline. So he discovers the age of the Earth, he gets lead out of gasoline and saves millions of lives, and he develops the clean room. So he's your homework for the day. But again, that is one thing I love about these programs is that we get this local perspective from kids from Missouri, from Ontario, from Newfoundland, from BC, from Florida, wherever you happen to be joining from. And this is where the homework is left to you, because you can find out how local policies, local governments, local things have led to those changes over time. And I think that for me was one of the most enriching things when I was your age. And it's a great place to start with your inquiry. So thank you so much. You guys are an amazing summer school crew. Way to go. You guys rock. Herman, before we wrap up and say farewell, is there any last message you want to leave us with about Digital Moment before we bring in our class to say goodbye?
Yeah, the last message is not going to be about Digital Moment. I want you to visit and see what we do, but the key part is that I want you to see all these challenges that we're presenting also under a different light. They're also great opportunities. We see many problems with the world today, but the world is getting better. It's not the best it can be, but it's getting better because you want to keep learning, and there are many people, organizations that are working to make it better, and we all can make an impact and a difference. Thank you.
No better message than that, Herman. Thank you so much. And our classes, both live, YouTube, after the fact, I'm going to send you all these resources so you can keep the learning going when we're done. As you well know, and you can stick around with me after, I'm going to bring in our class to say a big thank you and farewell. So our Farmington Summer School, thank you so much for being such an amazing audience. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you all soon. Farewell for now. See you.